Today, we're gonna build a voice recorder. With this system, you can record your voice, get it transcripted, and make an AI summarize it for you into one single text file. And this time, I sanded the parts down so the surface looks smooth. The device is battery driven, and I haven't even told you the craziest part. Today, we're gonna make a double-sided 3D printed circuit board. And man, this was so crazy to build. It took a lot of time and effort, but it looked so good in the end. So I wanna start with telling you why I built this device. I often struggle a lot with coming up with good ideas for my upcoming builds. So I wanted a device that can make that process easier. So ideas come to you when you least expect it. So I wanna conveniently write it down as quickly as possible. So before I use my phone and some note-taking app to write these ideas down. But I'm an engineer, I like to overcomplicate things. So instead, I take one whole month and build a device that takes notes for me. And to get started, I have to buy some stuff. So I started with a microcontroller and then a bunch of speakers just to try out and see how they sound. And this little tiny thing is the microphone, which is the INMP 441, a LiPo battery and a battery charger. And this also has some safety features for the battery. And for the power button, I could have used one of the switches that we used before, but I wanted some new ones for this device. So I bought these. These look good and sound nice, and they also latch, which is the wanted feature. And as you see, there are a lot of components, so let's just start and connect everything up. And for this project, we can't have this little itsy bitsy breadboard. Let's bring in the big guy. Now we have some room. So let's start by soldering some pins on the modules. For some of these, I can use one of these helping hands and solder them this way. But for the ones that have a standard pin spacing of 254 millimeters, I can use a breadboard to hold them steady. But I think you should solder this pretty quickly if you're using a breadboard. And after soldering, I usually clean them up a bit. Now that everything has its own pins, we can start connecting everything up. And although this is just for testing purposes, it's important to keep things tidy, because you don't want a bunch of wires sticking out of the breadboard when you're going to test things. I take out my wiring set and start wiring everything up. And people said that these tweezers are unnecessary, but they are such a good help when wiring things, because they do some things that your bulky fingers can't handle, or at least mine. And although I told you that I want to keep things tidy, I still had to have some wires poking out. There simply wasn't enough space for those other wires. And for the motor, I had to mount it over the magnetic encoder. And because the motor has a magnet on the shaft, this magnetic encoder senses the magnetic field and knows exactly at which position the motor is in. And this opens up so many possibilities with the programming later on. And for the last part, we connect up some resistors to the buttons, and then we are done with the connections. Let's move on to some programming. So first I write every connection down because I freestyled the connections a bit, and then I can use them in the program. And as usual, let's start with something simple. First, we try out the buttons. And the lines with more text is when the device is detecting the button press. After that, we move on to the screen and get some sort of output and know that it's working. And when that is done, we can move on to the speakers. So first, I read a bit about how this module is supposed to be connected. And then I want to do some testing and see which one of these speakers is the best. So let's try the speakers with some Beethoven. It sounds good, but it has to sit flush on the surface that it's mounted to. Let's try the small one. It's a bit low, but decent sound. Let's move on to another one. Also nice, but could be better. And now to the big boy over here. This one clearly has more depth and bass to the sound, but it's a bit big for the device we're building over here. So I think I will go with the round and small one. It had a good balance of size and sound. So now let's move on. I add an LED so the device can signal when it's recording or playing back an audio file. And then I try out the microphone and see how it sounds.
This is my voice when it's recorded from the INMP 441.
See, not that bad. So let's move on to the most important part of this device, the motor and disk control. The motor should spin when it's recording, and by physically stopping the motor, you should be able to pause the recording or the playback. And this is possible with the magnetic encoder that we installed earlier underneath the motor. And now it can detect when the motor is stopped. And for the last part, I make a user-friendly menu that I can navigate through. And now I can do this demo. I will now record my voice and it will be saved in the SD card here. I will now record my voice and it will be saved in the SD card here. And then look at this part, it's cool. A little fun chipmunk sound when you're fast forwarding or reversing. I don't know, rewinding. And yeah, that feature is also nice. And then I went on and experimented a bit with the motor movements so that I can use the motor as an input. So I can pause and play with the motor itself. And with this method, you can do a bunch of stuff, but we'll get into that later. So now I want to turn this audio file to a text format and then summarize it with the help of some AI. So let me explain. I'm going to have the ESP32s act as a Wi-Fi access point. In this way, any computer that has the program can detect this ESP32 and get access to all the files. At least as long as they know the password and the URL. So to turn the speech into a text format, I'm going to use Whisper, which is a speech recognition model made by OpenAI, and it's good and free and open source, so why not? And when it comes to the summarization of the text file, I was first thinking maybe Ollama to keep things local, but recently I have come across Claude and I think that does the job pretty well. So I create an account and put in some credits so that I can use the API. So now I have access to a large language model in my program. And now with the power of these two AI models, I can both transcribe and summarize my audio files. So now the only thing left is to create the device and make it beautiful. So here I go to GrabCAD and start by searching for all the modules that I have and see if I can find the files for them online. And since I usually use the more common modules for the videos, I can find them on GrabCAD pretty easily. So I just download them and then upload them to Fusion 360. And some of these modules come without any color. And we can't have it like that, so let's give it some color and make them look like the real deal. And for the modules that I didn't find, I make a simple version of them so that I can use it for dimensioning purposes. And now we can start with the layout. So here, the size is very important to me. I want to find the optimal way to do this so that it takes as little space as it can. Now here you can go small, but this complicates the circuit board a bit. And I went as small as I could, and this will complicate things later on. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. We're at that bridge right now, so let's do this. So I open up KiCad and get to work. So first I have to create all the modules and their footprints in KiCad as well. And this is a tedious task, but it must be done. And for the 3D models in KiCad, I can just export the Fusion models and put them here. And then just line them up with the footprint. Then comes the schematic. And already in the schematic, I try to line everything up as they are going to be in real life. And then I can start connecting every single module. And with the layout in mind, this makes the next part a bit easier, making the physical footprint layout. And there was so little space and I had no choice. I had no choice but to make this circuit board double layered. And I mean 3D printed double layered circuit board. So let's get going. I export it as a step file and then upload it to Fusion 360. I extrude the traces so that it can be 3D printed, and then to make it double layered, I slice the circuit board in two so that each half can be printed separately. And I'm just thinking that this is going to be crazy if it works. Not very secure, but still crazy. And with that done, I go on to making the enclosure. So I basically just make a thin walled enclosure that just packages everything nicely. And because it's 3D printed, I have to make the buttons a bit like live hinges. So that's basically when you use the elasticity of the plastic to have some hinges without having any moving parts. And I think logically you should have the hinge axis orthogonal to the layer lines, but you only live once. Let's just do it this way. And now I can make some slots for the SD card and the USB-C ports, and then comes the visuals. And I experimented a bit and tried some different colors. And I thought it was really cool to have the disc in the middle look like a record button. But I do like my devices to have more of a Bauhaus design and simple. So instead I tried black and white And having in mind that this is a voice recorder, I went with a cassette looking device. Then I added some more features like a LED diffuser and a button heightener, and then we were ready. And now, my friends, comes the difficult and controversial way of making a PCB. So I take the two layers and glue them together. And I have to have the holes line up perfectly. And then I can go on and drill the holes for the components. And with this many holes, it took some time. When that is done, we can cut out a small adhesive copper foil and apply it on the 3D printed circuit board. And with the traces extruded, the cutting part becomes a bit easier, but still time consuming. And then we move on to the other side. And the same is done here. But this side had so many traces. My back and my neck was dying after this. But since I tried this method, I just knew that I had to try a double-sided PCB version too. And only then I could go back to professionally made PCBs again. And being afraid of shorts, once again I checked continuity everywhere. And when that was done, I poked some holes into the copper sheet, and then I put in all the vias, which basically were some pins. I solder them on, and then I go on to the modules. I place out all the components on the board one by one. And for being such a small board, it has a lot of components. And once again, I check every connection, and then I go on to soldering everything. And now I'm just so hyped up. We have one last step before we have the device. I just have to sand the 3D printed case so it looks smooth. And for this purpose, I bought some sandpaper with 3 different grits: 400, 240, and then 800. And then also some wood filler and paint. Let's open these up. And now start the sanding. And I really didn't like doing this part in a small room, but to get good lighting, I had to do it here. But at least for the spraying part, I went to the garage. And with all that done, the parts did look much smoother. And to get ready for the assembly, I cut down the motor wires to the right length, made some last adjustments. Now let's bring in everything and start the assembly. We start off by screwing on the motor mount. And I think these screws are the smallest screws I've seen. And with some super glue, we can mount that to the magnetic encoder. We press down a bit so it sits there nicely. The next step is the enclosure body. Here I put down the 3D printed circuit board and then press it down with some tweezers. You can hear that this is a really tight fit, and this works to my advantage because I won't be using any screws. And then, for lack of a better word, I put a distancer layer so that the speaker and the battery can lay on top of that. Next up comes the screen, and when that is connected, we can connect up the battery. And since the speaker and the battery are moving around a bit, we have to attach them to the enclosure somehow. And the speaker has some adhesives already, so I just take off the sticker and stick it to the enclosure. And for the battery, I use a distancer again and glue it down to the enclosure. And now we can screw down the disc to the motor. And then we put on the button distancers. And although they look a bit loose, they sit there pretty firmly. And then we attach the LED diffuser. And since I don't want the screws on the disc to be visible, I made this cassette looking thing to put on top of it. And it also looks nice. And now let's take this thing off. And then we glue down the lid and hold it until it dries. And just like that, we are done with this build. And man, do I love how it turned out. And I'm serious when I tell you this, I use this device on a regular basis now. Because if I'm in the comments and I see some good idea, I just take that device and record my voice instead of writing it down. And then when I'm ready to work on something new, I can just take out the summarization text file. So this will help me a lot with producing quality videos for you guys. I really love the building process in this video, and I really hope that you liked watching the process. And if you did, I have a lot of similar looking videos, so check them out. If you have any ideas for upcoming videos, I really like to hear them, and you can leave them in the comment section.
And that's all for this video, and I really hope I see you in the next one. Goodbye.